Hassan, go for it.
I think, Yunus, let's start off firstly from the global side in terms of, remember we had on that on Saturday night the bombings of the three nuclear power stations or the three nuclear sites in Iran. One of the key issues and the key risks that came over the weekend was the concern that with the Americans we thought that the Americans were going to be now actively involved in the war, in a war with Iran, that one of the major commodities that would be impacted would be oil. And you saw over the weekend, oil shot up dramatically. And that Saturday, Sunday, and on Monday morning when it opened, oil was up, from around late $60, it was up to about $80 a barrel. So it had moved up quite substantially. Also, the rand had weakened a bit back to about 1810, 1820 over that period of time as well. But as things played out politically, things have sort of stabilized between Iran, Israel, and the US, where you had the retaliatory strikes on the US base in Qatar, and sort of effectively it was now it's known to be a sort of a ceasefire that's now been in place between these Israel and Iran. We've seen oil drop sharply over the last 48 hours. Oil is in fact now gone back to around the $67, $68 a barrel, and the rand has also strengthened a bit back to around 1770. So I think while we still may get a slight increase in oil fuel prices next week, so remember I think on Tuesday night or Wednesday morning next week, the sort of fuel prices will change. I think it's not as bad as what we may have thought it would have been had it stayed at what it was on Saturday and Sunday. So I think that's pretty. But look, we probably may get a 50 cents increase in terms of the petrol price, and maybe a 70 cents increase on the diesel price coming if the oil remains around the $68 a barrel, and if the rand remains under 18 rands to the US dollar. From a global economic perspective and the issues is, remember with the Russian and Ukrainian war, one of the key issues that emanated out of that was that inflation went out of control in the year or two after that. We can see it in South Africa, whether we were buying vegetables, whether we were bread, meat, anything, relative to what the prices were in 2021 and 2022, prices now are up substantially, particularly not only food costs, but across various, whether you're buying, deodorants, or you're buying, washing powder, anything, all across the board, across consumer products, inflation moved up substantially post-COVID and post the Ukrainian and Russian war, because Ukraine and Russia in particular were big suppliers of food-related commodities such as wheat and maize and those products. Now with the war that's been taking place in Gaza and I wouldn't call it, it's a genocide that's taking place in Gaza, but also the emanating and expanding war in the region. We've had Lebanon, we've had Syria, and now more recently Iran actively involved. The concern was around the potential impacts that will have on the economy globally. The key commodity most people were worried about was oil and gas. Those are the key commodities. Qatar, remember, Iran, remember, big also reserves and resources of oil and gas. And any big issues in terms of those suppliers has a major impact. The other big issue was, there was concern. Remember, the Strait of Hormuz is one of the big routes in terms of supply of oil through that strait. If Iran had to play one of their cards, which they could have used, but it would have hurt them as well because they also supply a lot of crude oil through that route. But close to 20 to 25% of all global crude oil flows through that strait. And if they decided that they want to shut it or close it or do something about it, oil would have spiked to $120 a barrel overnight, just like that. That would have had a massive impact in terms of inflationary impact on transport costs and other related impacts. Global markets would have been in financial, you would have had financial turmoil in global markets if we had seen that particular scenario. But fortunately, I think that scenario sort of seems to have eased off. And we are now in a scenario where at least I think oil prices, there's some stability expected unless there's another blow up that takes place between Iran and Israel and the US. But unlikely. You can see now that the language that's coming through from Trump in the last day or two is more around reconciliatory between those nations. But the unfortunate thing is, while this is taking place, our brothers in Gaza are continuously daily being slaughtered. And that's the unfortunate thing that is continuing because the eyes of the world has moved off of them and more focused on that. From a South African perspective, the key issues is, fortunately, inflation is relatively stable. And you've seen the Reserve Bank, in fact, the central bank, our central bank, a few weeks ago, the governor cut rates which was unexpected and which was positive and relief for consumers out there as well. I think also very importantly as well, we have seen some improvement in terms of the economic environment. I think some of the results that have been coming out from some of the companies reporting over the last few weeks has been decent set of results starting to come through. Whether some of the chemical and fertilizer companies, like a company like Omnia reported recently. I've seen some of the other industrial, some of the packaging companies and that. Relatively stable, decent results and showing signs of some improvement starting to come through, which is a positive sign. The areas which is still a challenge, and our brother Imran MP, also here, he'll obviously give some further feedback as well. But there is challenges that are still happening around certain of the sectors. I was very critical a few weeks ago around the wage agreement that was settled between Transnet and government. It's an impact. It has an impact in terms of the cost base. It has an impact in terms of the National Treasury's budget. But National Treasury is strained at the moment in terms of how the finance minister is really under pressure, but they haven't taken drastic steps in terms of cutting expenditure. And here, by increasing 6% fixed over the next 3 years, again puts a bit of strain in terms of our budget. What we have seen, though, is some positive news has come through around public sector. For example, Eskom has now come to an agreement with City Power to settle the 4 billion rands of 4 billion rands of certain debts. So 3.2 billion City Power is going to pay over the next 4 years, and Eskom will write off about 800 million in terms of penalties and related costs. But at least 3.2 billion now, there is a payment plan in place for City Power to pay Eskom so that the lights can be, sustained and kept on, especially in the major hub of Johannesburg as well. The other point to highlight, and is a point you noted, was the loan from the World Bank. It's a massive loan, and it comes with obviously terms. It's a 16-year loan that's been put in place for $1.5 billion, which is around 27 billion rands. It is a interest-linked loan, which is obviously is linked to what they call a secure overnight financing rate, but it's plus another 1.5% on top of that. So again, it is a dollar-based loan. For us, an important point is that the rand against the dollar to remain still stable over a period of time, because we will be making repayments on these loans in dollars over the next 16 years. But the focus of this loan, and that's the important point, and we hope that it is utilized properly by our government, that it is utilized towards the infrastructure spending which is meant to be allocated for. If it is utilized properly towards the infrastructure which is being highlighted for, it will have a positive impact in terms of whether it's the road and the rail related infrastructure, and that helps to unleash and allow the economy to flow and sort of gain some momentum. But we need to ensure that is managed properly and is spent properly. I'll give you an example. AXA CEO, she's got a massive budget in terms of her spending, and one of the key issues she's noted was the construction mafia. And she highlighted that she's being as secretive as possible in terms of managing the numbers and how she's working with different service providers and suppliers to try and reduce the impact of these, uncouth and sort of thuggers that's out there to try and basically gain a sort of this unlawful activity as well. So I think there is a related impact in terms of some of the institutions wanting to manage that properly, but there has to be a lot more focus on it to ensure that these money is coming in. It's costing the country a lot of money because we have to repay that loan. We have to repay the interest on that loan. It has to be utilized effectively so that the economy can grow and the people of South Africa benefit because it results in job creation and it results in revenue generation for the fiscus, and therefore helps us in terms of reducing our burden on taxpayers over a period of time. The largest rise in costs related to wages, and wages ended up taking a big chunk out of what the municipal budget was being used towards. And on the other hand, so there was actually there was an 89% increase in the wage bill over a period of 14 years. On the other hand, the infrastructure spend declined by 39% over the period of time. And if you take into account inflation and the like, the fact that there was such a substantial decline was essentially one of the key reasons why we're seeing across major cities, municipalities across the country that there are challenges. Joburg is a big challenge. Metros, including eThekwini, the Eastern Cape is a challenge. For example, look what has happened you've had the flooding that's taken place in the Eastern Cape. We had recently the Eastern Cape, parts of KwaZulu-Natal, and now, today there's a huge amount of rain and the like taking place in the Western Cape. The Eastern Cape itself, you've had 95 or 100 confirmed deaths that has taken place, but the damages are close to 5 billion rands worth of damage. That's a massive amount. And again, it's because you've had if the infrastructure was in a better condition, the impact in terms of lives and impact in terms of the damage and like, which will have been much less. Then you've had the NGOs that have had to step in and have had to pay a related impact. For example, the likes of the Gift of the Givers. They actually gone in and stepped in and playing a part in terms of supporting government and helping them doing supplying water and the like. But when they're going in, they're being, again, harassed by some of the water mafia in terms of doing what? Again, is all these issues that are in place that needs to be stamped out and addressed. And there is some progress. You saw a few days ago, I think a day or 2 days ago, 6 extortionists or the like were killed by in a shootout by the SCPS in the Mtata Eastern Cape. Again, it's related to. So I think slowly there is some progress being made to try and address some of those issues, particularly the mafia and the like. But the bigger challenge that we need to address in the municipalities is effective and appropriate spending of the budget that is there. We need to spend it effectively. Less and less of irregular, unauthorized expenditure needs to take place. You need to have a lot less of that and more focus on that money being spent on infrastructure is the key word. And that's one of the reasons why national government has gone to the World Bank for that 1.5 billion loan, is to focus it on infrastructure. But the municipalities need to take responsibility and spend that money properly. And we as the public, the ratepayers associations and the like, have to continue monitoring, holding the institutions accountable, holding what you call your councillors and the municipal managers, whoever it is, hold them accountable. And where they not be, you must take them to task. We have to continue putting the pressure so that we see the improvement happening, and it can happen. If you continue to put pressure, continue to make sure that everything is transparent, and you hold people accountable, then there will be change, and it will happen slowly. I mean, who would have thought we here in South Africa, and we want to see and improve, and I think inshallah there will be. But we talk about America, and you talk about their big challenge. They've got massive challenges issue. But yesterday, one of the Democratic primaries, a guy by the name Zohran Mamdani, has become now he's the Democratic nominee for who would have thought, from a minority community up against the Zionist regimes and the massive backers and funders in that particular state of New York, that you've got a person from the minority community won a Democratic primary, and he's now standing for a mayor, and he stands a reasonable chance. Obviously, still time will tell, but the fact that he's become the Democratic primary candidate tells you that things can happen, things can change, and I think here in SA we are slowly starting to see some improvement, some changes taking place, but it requires a lot more effort and a lot more focus by institutions, by government, and also the private sector and the public in general. And hopefully, I think, inshallah, leading up towards the elections next year, we should hopefully see further improvements continue in that direction.
Thank you, Hassan. We've ran out of time. We're 20 minutes over our time, and we had quite a constructive discussion in News in Focus this evening. We chatted about the Iran, Israel, Gaza analysis and updates. Sumaya Khan was present, and she interviewed Dr. Faisal Suleiman, chairperson of SAMNet. She gave us a good overview of what's happening out there and why we should be active. I know I could have asked Honorary Subrati to chat as a Secretary General, but time has run out, maybe on another occasion. He has a lot of information, being involved in United for Palestine, and also being involved in various protest marches. But we'd like to thank Imran for joining us this evening, coming tired from Cape Town after a hectic day. And he was telling us in one of the get-togethers we had in the weekend that, as a member of parliament, you spend approximately 18 hours a day doing, work, constituency work, and also coming back and doing work of local government and other issues here. It's a very tiring job, but for the last 12 months, Imran has been very dedicated. He learned a lot about what's going on by interacting with various politicians, being in the various portfolio committees, and we're proud to have a hardworking member of parliament like Imran in our midst. But the very important part about Imran, and I don't want to praise him because he's present here, is the fact that he never refuses to come and join us in the studio and be honest about the situation in government, notwithstanding, him belonging to the ruling party. And if they faulted, he's prepared to acknowledge it. And whenever he is approached to assist in any situation, he is ever willing to assist, no matter where he is and what situation we are in. He's proactive. And even with some of the pilgrims that were being apprehended and being harassed by the customs officials in the airport, Maulana Suleiman Rawat and Maulana Vanka brought it to my attention that please attend to it, and we forwarded the complaints to Imran, and he got his counterparts to deal with the issue. I know how difficult these people can be, and having spent 4 to 6 weeks in Hajj, pilgrims are coming back tired, looking forward to meet with their families, buying a few necessities like bringing in Zamzam water and a few abayas and some kurtas and some dates, worth a couple of thousand rand, and they're being harassed by these officials to declare and empty their bags. This is not called for, because people are not coming with hundreds and thousands of worth of gold when it's cost so much to go and do pilgrimage. And these customs officials have to be reasonable, but they're targeting our Muslims more to see if they can pick up a bribe of 1,000 or 2,000, and this is the order of the day. But Imran acted timelessly. We know in various other issues, whenever it was brought to his attention, he acted quickly and got assistance from wherever. So this is the kind of service we require from councillors and members of parliament. They don't just sit there and say, I'm an MP now, I must do nothing. It's really basically a classic example of always improving service delivery. And Imran gave us some very important points that came from the local government summit. Our ratepayer associations must submit their comments for the white paper, and the more comments come in, the more there will be a wake-up call. But do continue as ratepayer associations by putting pressure on local government, meeting with the mayor, meeting with departmental heads, pointing out issues like the various ratepayer associations. And I know Imran is a member of the ORA, Open Ratepayers Association, and so are others working very hard. We have to work hard towards the local government in the elections, identify leaders. We will continue with the monitoring process in this program, interviewing various ratepayer associations, politicians, covering topical issues in News in Focus, and I'm sure we will disseminate valuable information to our communities out there. I thank our guests for joining me this evening. Hassan Motala is always there to give us updates and look at the positive side of things and making sure that our sort of monies are well invested. There's tourism taking place, economic upliftment, etc. Faisal Suleiman provided some very intense input on what's happening abroad, globally, not only in Gaza and other places, but also, in Kashmir and, where India, we have some issues with them as well. And I think Imran is an all-rounder and he can chat on any subject. And we hope we can get him in the studio in future to spend more time with us and give us an update on other issues. We entering the month of Muharram, which is a few days away. It's a Mubarak month, and there will be special programs taking place because our media network focuses on, topical issues. So Muharram will be the flavor for the next 10 days. So there will be special programs taking place from the 1st of Muharram to the 10th of Muharram. These are Mubarak months. People are encouraged to fast. We have to make du'as for the Ummah because the Ummah is in Pareshan. We know the situation in other parts of the world and how serious the situation is in Palestine, the genocide. We have the solution to the problem by turning to the creator of all creations, and that's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We need to work with our ulama, make du'as for those, whatever help we can render in the form of donating towards humanitarian relief, we must do that. But make du'as that relief reaches the recipients, and inshallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deal with the oppressors and the perpetrators. And in that regard, we should obey Allah's commandments as shown to us by Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam, perform our 5 times salah, but also be aware of dealing with oppression and providing humanitarian aid to our people. In that regard, the Al Ansar Foundation is continuously involved in humanitarian aid of whatever form. In the month of Muharram, we will be providing hampers, we will be providing feeding, programs for our communities out there. Please free to liaise with us if you need to donate to any relief projects that we are involved with. Meet with our welfare and relief team that's here, so that no better time than the month of Muharram to really open up our hearts to provide humanitarian aid for our brothers and sisters in Palestine. And locally, we have informal settlements, people living in abject poverty, and we have to be mindful of them as well. Until I presume next week, Wednesday, we're having special programs, so we might not have a News in Focus next Wednesday, but inshallah, a week thereafter, we'll have an in-depth program covering topical issues. Until then, once again, I thank you all. I thank our technician, Dawood Monley, for providing a wonderful technical service for us this evening. I know it's a cold night and a lot of people are falling off to sleep, but do get up for tahajjud and make lots of du'as for the ummah. It's needed so that lives of people improve throughout the world. Until we meet again, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.